Dr. Jody Duff with Pikes Peak Veterinary Clinic, and today we are going to talk about dehydration in dogs. So just like people get dehydrated, the number one way is losing more fluids than you're intaking. And so if you're exercising a lot, your water requirement goes up. If you're sweating a lot, and dogs and cats don't really sweat like we do. They sweat through their paw pads. So if you ever notice, like, your cat jumps up on the counter and there's like little paw print marks that are kind of just wet, that's from sweat. But they don't sweat other ways. Dogs pant. Cats don't really do much of anything. If you ever see a cat panting, that's really bad. But you know, if a dog pants and drools and things like that, they're gonna lose fluid that way. So heat, exercise, not enough access to water, those are signs of dehydration. So signs of dehydration would be being lethargic, dry mucous membranes. So mucous membranes are the gums, the tongue, and sometimes the mucosal membranes, like the eyes might look, dry and not moist and wet. Most of those, really, just like a person, if you don't get enough water to drink, you get pretty tired pretty quickly. So safe rehydration is reintroducing fluids, not so they're guzzling them all down at once. And obviously this ranges from, we're talking about simple mild dehydration, like you took your dog for a 2-hour hike and you forgot water, don't let them drink 2 huge bowls of water at once. Let them drink half a bowl, wait a few minutes, give them the other half. But if we're talking severe dehydration, like not having access to water for a day or something like that, or a long afternoon where they're, it's really, really hot, something like that, that's definitely something where you can offer water, but then you should seek veterinary care. So if they're severely lethargic, not responding, anything like that, that's something where that is an emergency, because rehydrating safely, you do have to do via intravenous routes and with calculations, because we can't just overload them right away. So some of the health effects are the blood flow is not as good, right? So obviously big part of our bodies and dog and cat's bodies is water, and so if there's not enough fluid in the system, our blood's not circulating appropriately, and anytime that we're dehydrated, the body's gonna try to use whatever fluids it has for the most vital organs. And so, things like blood pressure can change, and headaches can happen because of not enough oxygen flow and fluid through the brain. And that's where the lethargy comes in. Your body just doesn't have enough fluid to work at the intracellular level and extracellular level, because we have fluid both places. And so you can have depletion in one or both areas depending on how dehydrated you are. I don't know that breed specific, but I do think that, obviously how much hair and how big the dog is determines that a lot. Like, in a hot, arid climate like we are in the summer here, Bernese Mountain Dog is definitely going to get dehydrated before a tiny standard poodle with a short haircut. So, so not really breed specific, but definitely, use your head. I have 2 black dogs, and in the summertime, I do not walk them during the day. I don't exercise them during the day. We do early morning or late evening, and make sure that we always have water on our hikes. Even if I'm just going for a 45-minute walk around the neighborhood, I carry one of those collapsible water bowls, which are so nice. If you guys don't have one of those, you should definitely get one. And that way my water bottle can double as my water bottle and their water bottle. And so always kind of being prepared is a good idea. And those collapsible water bowls make it super easy. Yes, so any concurrent disease process. So cats or dogs with kidney disease, diabetes, any kind of disease where there's another kind of disease called diabetes insipidus, which isn't really the same as a glucose issue, but where basically a part of the kidney doesn't work right, and so you're drinking and drinking and drinking, but the body's not able to absorb it. It just all comes out, in the urine, and isn't going to the spaces in the body where it's needed. So if your pet has any concurrent disease process, or is on medications like diuretics, so for heart disease like Lasix, or even steroids long term, that's going to affect how much water they need to stay hydrated. And so just make sure you take that into consideration when you're, exercising them or, taking them places where it might be hot. We kind of touched on definitely exercise in the heat, but really exercise anytime. I mean, I think it's a good idea to always carry water with your dog. Even if you're going to go run them at the park, make sure they have access to clean water. Ideally, that's in a water bottle that you've provided, with a drinking bowl that you've also provided. Because, just like us, I feel like if you think that you might get thirsty doing something, they're going to get thirsty. I think in our society, we often are always walking around with water bottles or soda or some kind of can of something. And we have to realize, if we're not giving that to our dogs, they're thirsty too. Some dogs are going to want to drink more than others, and that's totally fine. You offer it. If they don't want it, okay, but at least you have it with you. And then of course, this is also why we never do, we don't leave dogs in hot cars. We don't leave them out in the sun with no shade when it's really hot, all that kind of stuff. So that's going to vary dramatically based on pet to pet. Most dogs, they're going to drink based on their needs. So if you've got kind of more of a couch potato dog and they're pretty small, they're probably not going to drink a ton of water, but you'll have it out. If you've got a very active dog, they're going to drink a lot more water because they're going to be expending more energy and fluids. And some of it depends on diet too. Just like if I eat more salt on a particular day, my body's going to tell me I'm more thirsty to dilute that salt out. And that's the same with pets. So some pets are on a higher salt diet, they're going to drink more water than pets on a lower salt diet. And the same thing we talked about, concurrent disease processes. Pets with kidney disease, diabetes, etc., are going to have a higher water need. But yeah, other than that, it varies pretty dramatically. I think the thing to note is that, a lot of times when I have people bring pets in, they're like, they're just drinking a lot of water and peeing a lot. If you notice that your pet can't hold the urine anymore and they used to be able to, or they're having accidents that are unexplained, or every time, you think, I used to fill this water bowl up maybe twice a day, but now all of a sudden I'm filling it up every time I look, it's empty. That's a sign that you should take your pet to the doctor, so that we can, do an exam, run some tests, make sure they're able to concentrate their urine correctly, their kidney values look good, their blood sugar is normal. And that just, kind of helps us all make sure, hey, it might seem like they're drinking a lot, but they're fine. Or, well, they're not fine. There's something going on and we need to intervene. Happens too. Some dogs are just really not into water. So kind of making a little more fun for them, which sounds silly, but it can be helpful. You can do low sodium chicken broth and freeze it in an ice cube tray and kind of give them little of those to play with. Some dogs actually really like ice in their water. I don't really want people feeding their dogs just pure ice because they can crack their teeth on it just like humans can. But you can put a couple ice cubes in the water dish, and sometimes that's all they need to kind of be interested in it and play with the ice cubes a little bit. One of the things with cats that we like to recommend is doing some tuna water, like the drained tuna water from a can of tuna or canned salmon. With the drained salmon water, you can kind of encourage them to do that. Water fountains can be helpful. They have ones on Amazon or wherever, especially for cats. They can really like flowing water. Dogs usually just make a mess of it, but and then a really great summer thing to do is if your dog likes Kongs or you have Kongs, is to freeze water in there, and you can give them that as an outdoor treat or a treat in their crate. So it kind of slowly dissolves and they can lick it. You can also do chicken broth that way too, or even frozen peanut butter, like frozen natural peanut butter. That cools them off, gives them something to do. Does natural peanut butter have a ton of water? No, but it's still something to keep them hydrated. Yeah, clean water is very important, especially in Colorado Springs where we have a lot of Giardia in our water. I think a lot of it's just from wildlife, some of it's just from chronic contamination. And I know it's hard, especially if you let your dog swim or wade in water, because of course they're in there, they're going to want to try to drink it, but you do want to discourage it. The only time that I ever let my dogs drink from natural water sources, which some people may even disagree with, but is when I'm at high altitude and it's a very rushing mountain stream. You know, anything, it makes sense if you think about it. Any water that's moving and rushing quickly is going to be not sitting where things like parasites and bacteria can just kind of thrive. And so I haven't run into any trouble. That doesn't mean I won't in the future. But you know, kind of use your common sense. If there's a pond there and there's a lot of scum and stuff on it and it's just really stagnant water, I wouldn't let my dog go in that water. I wouldn't let my dog drink that water. Just stay away. If it's a creek and it's moving kind of fast, you know, you can maybe let your dog play in it as long as they're vaccinated for leptospirosis. But, you know, I don't encourage dogs to drink from natural water sources because they can pick up things that way. And so clean water would just be water that you would drink. Like if you're okay drinking it, it's fine for your dog. You know, you do not have to feed your dog bottled water by any means. Tap water is fine, but just anything that's been through a water treatment plant. So it can be dangerous for dogs to drink too much water. And like we talked about, if you're noticing that your dog is just really water seeking and just constantly drinking water, that can definitely be a sign that there's a problem. And most normal, healthy dogs, they're not going to overdrink water. The only thing that sometimes happens is we call it psychogenic polydipsia, which is the medical term for the brain just wants you to drink water. And that actually usually just happens in puppies. And some of it is just, they're just really excited about it and they just really want to keep drinking water. And so if you notice your dog's just gulping and gulping and gulping, kind of say, hey, hold on a minute, let's take this away and, you know, reintroduce it later. But I would say in 99% of the cases, dogs are not going to drink water unless they're actually thirsty. And so if they're thirsty and they're drinking too much, that's the sign to us, hey, there's something metabolically not right here.